Hey, sitting at my favorite coffee place, just checking in with you. I'm gonna make some changes, so I'll be talking about that more in the video today. I, um, I'm just trying to, still not feeling okay. My tooth is feeling much better, but the antibiotics are kind of making me sick feeling, so that's not good. So I'll check in with you and tell you more about what's going on. So I'm back in my closet, and I wanted to tell you all the things I had to do or already had to do to change my trip. And as I mentioned in the video, the last video that came out about, life happens when you're making other plans. It's just, it's been very overwhelming this week. It really has. Physically, I'm better, but I just have this feeling that I'm going to have to probably go back and get on more antibiotic. Try to get seen by a dentist this week before I leave, just to get an x-ray and just kind of confirm what we're dealing with. I mean, I know it was an abscess, but I mean, just, like what tooth in particular, what area is affected, how bad is the abscess, because it's probably still there a bit. It's probably just, it's not totally gone at this point. I have one more day of antibiotics as I'm filming this, and I would say 90%, 95% of the discomfort's gone. Most of the swelling's gone. Do I think the infection's gone? Not really. And then the antibiotics have done, they've done a number on me. So I'm probably a bit dehydrated, to be honest with you. That's caused tummy problems, lower tummy, which I hate when I have that. And it's caused that, even though I'm taking a probiotic. It would probably be worse if I wasn't on a probiotic. I mean, it's not like it's bad, but it's enough to be annoying. And I don't feel great. And I probably won't until this whole thing gets resolved. So it's kind of just, you have to understand, when you're away from home and you're dealing with something like this and you're alone and you don't have anybody to rely on, it gets, as much as I can power through this and get through it, it doesn't mean it's not hard sometimes. It's really hard. There's times I've had to just cry it out, and there's times I've had to just feel bad for a while because that's what's coming up. So here's practically what I've had to do. So all my plans for the UK have been pretty much destroyed, 98% of that. But I had to try to make the best of a bad situation. So unfortunately, because I have to, I had a lot of people in the comments say, oh, can't you just stay in France till you can get this fixed? No, I can't really. I got to be out of France in 2 weeks. And to even get seen, get an appointment, get a root canal, heal from that, whatever, it's not going to happen in 2 weeks here. It's just not. I can't even get in to see a dentist right now. So I have to go to either the UK or Albania to get this fixed. Now, Albania is a better choice because it's cheaper, and they have a whole dental tourism. They have several dental places in the capital, which is where I'm going, Toronto, they're known for their dental tourism. So they have good reviews, and the prices are good. They're like a third or less, maybe a quarter of what they are in the US. UK, first of all, it's more expensive to stay in the UK. That's the first problem. And then the second problem is the dental care, it's not quite as expensive as the US, but it's close. So, and because you have to get private care, you can't go through like the National Health Service there. So because of that, I knew I had to get to Albania sooner, but I still can't get there like overnight. And the reason is because I had existing things in place that I don't get refunds for. And I can't, like, my plane ticket is from Heathrow in London to Tirana. Now, I can change it, and I did change it, but I can't just all of a sudden fly out of somewhere else and lose the several $100s for that ticket. It's just, that's not doable for my budget at this point. So I'm having to make, like, patch together what I think is the best plan to get through the next 2 weeks. I'll be in Tirana in about 2 weeks. I'm going to call the dental place. When you're watching this, I will have already called them and hopefully get scheduled for as soon as I get into Tirana, like the next day, get seen, hopefully get a root canal. But meantime, I still have to probably get on more antibiotics because I have a feeling this is just going to come roaring back. I've got to just trust my gut and my intuition on this. So it's hard though because I don't feel great. So I'm operating under a handicap. Good thing I saw a lot of Dijon the first 2 weeks I was here because, you know, other than going out and, I mean, I'm still getting out every day a little bit because I pretty much have to go to the store or get something to eat that I can eat, which is softer. I have to pretty much get out. So, but I'm not interested in seeing anything else right now. I'm interested in just preserving my health, and which I'm sure you can understand. So I'm speaking, you know, I'm speaking from my soul right now. This is one of the toughest things as far as the situation I'm in, where I'm at, and the type of thing I'm dealing with. Dental stuff is always one of the worst things for me. It really is. And I mean, yes, could this be worse if I had like some sort of horrible, you know, something else going on in my body? Of course, it could always be worse. I could be hospitalized right now. But this is still really bad for me. So here's the things I've had to do already. So I just changed the angle on this a little bit. Oh, you can see Lucy looking this way or towards me. Anyway, so the things I've already had to do in this scenario is I had to change my plane ticket, which I still had to pay a fee, but the guy was really nice when I told him what was happening to me. And he said that they have to charge you something, but then they issue a refund. So hopefully within a couple of weeks I'll have, you know, it'll be refunded and it won't have cost me anything to change the ticket. I had to book an Airbnb in Tirana for basically starting May 28th until June 27th, when I was actually going to stay at the next Airbnb. I couldn't, the one I was staying at for July and August was not available for all of June, so I couldn't stay there. So I had to pick a different one, but I got booked for that. So everything's all booked, scheduled for 3 months in Tirana. So I have a place to stay. That was the two biggest things I had to do. The next one is, of course, I have to call the dental clinics. I'm probably going to call a couple of them and just get an idea. They do speak English at these dental clinics, so I mean, that's good. But then I had to cancel all my Airbnb. I had to cancel in the UK. I had to cancel all my hotel reservations. What I was left with, though, is that I still have this week booked in Bavaria because I'm going to London via Bavaria, basically. I already had my train tickets. They were not refundable. So I would have been losing $250 of train tickets just by ignoring doing that. Plus, again, I had to fly from Heathrow to Tirana, from London to Tirana, and so I have decided, because where I'm going in Bavaria, I'm just going to go to Augsburg, which is where I, you know, grew up partially. And I have a comfortable hotel there. I'm staying there. I canceled the car reservation. I'm not renting a car. Can't afford the expense. Second of all, I won't be going around seeing a bunch of stuff. I will be fortunate enough to maybe go into Augsburg in the old town for 2 or 3 days while I'm there, so at least I'll get to see that. The good thing is they have emergency dental care in Augsburg if I need to go in and get seen somewhere. Apparently, it should be a little easier than it was here in Dijon to get seen. The only place I could really go here, like at the last minute, would be like the dental hospital they have. They have a hospital with like a dental emergency, and that's about the best they have in Dijon. But in Augsburg, they actually have 2 or 3 different emergency dental clinics that are open 24/7. So that's good news. So if I have a problem when I'm there, I'm in a comfortable place. They have a restaurant, so there's food on hand. I don't have to go out to a store. I can, I'm probably just going to be living on it, scrambled eggs and yogurt and things like that. So I'm going there, and then I'm heading up to, the only thing I don't like about this whole scenario is that I got a bunch of trains to take. And considering how I feel, not real thrilled about the trains. Mostly it should be okay, but, there's this little part of me that's concerned, of course. So, so that's the plan. The plan is I'm leaving here on the 16th of May. So that will be a little bit after you see this video. I will be heading to Munich via Zurich, and I'm spending the night in Zurich because that would have just been too much train stuff for one day to get from here to Munich. So I'm spending the night. I already had that reservation, and it was a relatively inexpensive hotel. So I'm staying in Zurich overnight. I'm going to Munich the next day. Then I'm taking, it's like a 35-minute train ride from Munich to Augsburg. I will go to my hotel. I will crash and relax and hope to God I don't need emergency dental care while I'm in Augsburg, and that at least I can enjoy the city a little bit while I'm there. And then I'm leaving there on the 24th to go back to Munich, first of all, and then catch the train from Munich to Brussels. And that requires one change of train as well to get to that. Then I stay overnight in Brussels. Then I take the Eurostar to London. Then I'm only in London 3 days before I fly out. So I basically I won't be seeing anything in London. I'll be lucky if I can maybe just take catch a ride on their bus that goes around and see stuff. I might be able to do that. That's okay. I will get back to the UK in September, October. I just, it's just not, I can't do it right now. So that's the plan, and I will be apprising you via my live streams or other videos of what is transpiring along the way. This is not how I wanted this to unfold, but then, anyone that's going through something like this is not what they want, ever, But as I explained in my live stream, the only thing we have complete control over is our attitude and how we deal with it. And, I'm determined to deal with this. If it sucks sometimes, then it's going to suck sometimes, but I'm still going to get through it. And hopefully, once I get to Tirana and I get some dental care, this root canal, whatever problem, hopefully I don't need the tooth pulled. If that's what has to happen, then that's what has to happen. I'll deal with that too. So I've gotten a bunch of, as you can tell, if you watch the comments, I get a bunch of advice from everybody. And, some of it, some people have really good suggestions. So I appreciate when you try to help me out. But, it's all over the map. People are like, oh, there's no way you can have a root canal if you have a crown on that tooth. Yeah, there is. They drill right through the crown. I've had it done before. So sometimes I get comments from people that just are like, that's not my experience of it. So, but I appreciate you guys being concerned. I appreciate you guys being there. It really means a lot to me that, I need all your prayers and virtual hugs. And please watch this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with people. Let me just talk on a larger philosophical level here, which is that, this is an example of what happens in life. I talked about this a little on my live stream, that if you expect life to be smooth, and when you're on a trip or you're on, like this, I'm not on vacation. First of all, let me dispel that right away. This is not vacation. This is my life right now. My life just happens to be living out of a suitcase in Europe, but it's not vacation. So yes, if you go on a 2-week vacation and you get sick on the vacation, that really is a bummer and it probably ruins your vacation. I get that. That's not the same way I look at this. This isn't ruining my time here. So, when I shared on my live stream the other day that, the only thing we have complete control over is our attitude, it's so true. And there are people that have left comments that have said things like to me like, "Oh, well, this has just been one bad thing after another and you must be miserable and you haven't enjoyed it, so you should just come back to the US." That's not how I see it. I've actually enjoyed quite a few things on this trip. In between the bad things that have happened. There's things that have happened. Have I had more problems on this trip than I normally have had in the past? Yes, absolutely. And most of that was not preventable, And so people that think you can prevent an abscess, they're crazy. Because an abscess can just come out of nowhere in a tooth. I mean, absolutely. You don't... I didn't have problems with this tooth before I left the U.S. So, but the point is, you can't prevent everything from happening. I'll share this little story with you to kind of give you an example of this. Years ago, when I was in my 20s and I was having health problems, because I've had health problems most of my adult life, I've gone through good phases and bad phases and, everything in between. But I definitely, now in retrospect, I realize it was because I had thyroid issues, but they kept missing them because they would do the typical thyroid test and they weren't abnormal, so they couldn't understand what it was. But it's because I had this Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is an autoimmune, and they weren't checking for that. So I remember going to this endocrinologist in my late 20s, and he did the usual, just normal tests. He really didn't look into much more. But I remember him being this very fit 40-something-year-old doctor, and he was a big healthcare nut. I remember we were sitting there in his office, and he's telling me how I have to do all these things to maintain my health, and like being really, do this, do that. He was a very, I would say, very kind of progressive doctor in that respect. But I remember him because, I think I only saw him twice maybe. It wasn't like he was somebody I went to regularly. But I remember him just going, "Oh, I do this and that because I want to live to be, in my 90s or 100. I don't remember exactly what he said, how old he wanted to be. But what I do remember is that a few months after the last time I saw him, he went on vacation. And the reason I know this is because I had an appointment with him in the future, and it had to be canceled, and they told me what happened to him. But a few months after I saw him the last time, he went on a vacation. I think he was in Hawaii, and he was sailboarding or something, and he died. He just died. So the point is, you can do everything you want to make sure you live healthy and prevent things and whatever, but when it's your time to go, it's your time to go. And I've always remembered that doctor. And I remember because, they had to call me, and of course they had to cancel all of his appointments and things like that. And they called me and they told me, I said, well, they didn't give me a lot of detail, of course, but they told me just the basics, that he'd, had an accident on, when he was sailboarding, and that's how he died or whatever. And never forgotten it though, because I thought, if that doesn't, this guy was, to me, really obsessed with like taking care of his body and living as healthy as possible. And he still died when he was supposed to die, apparently. So the point is, yes, is it good to do things to feel better on a regular basis? Absolutely. But to think you're in total control over anything, it's an illusion. It's an illusion. So anyway, I got real philosophical here at the end, but that's Lucy loves it when I get philosophical. She's, you know, she's so zen. She's very much into this. Her thing is, you know, just don't worry. Her attitude is like, listen, I made it to, I'm in France now, and I was born in Peru. Look how far I've come, is how she looks at it. So I take my cue from her. You know, I told you she's the best part of me. So anyway, that's the change in plans. I hope that made sense to you. I will update you as things go along. We'll see some content. You know, I'll be showing you what I'm seeing over there too. This isn't going to just be me talking about dental work for the next 2 months, hopefully. Hopefully only intermittently I'll be talking about. But this was a major change in plans. And you guys know that I'm crushed that I can't really see the UK at this point. But you know what? It never felt right anyway. You know, I shared that on my live stream. Some intuition kept telling me every time I changed my plans for it, every time I had to make an adjustment, I thought, you know, it's just not falling into place over there. And now I know why, because it wasn't meant to. So, not for now anyway. Hopefully in the future it will be, and I'll have a wonderful time going to the UK. So, I'm adjusting to that. I'm dealing with that. And until next time, be kind always and keep moving forward. Take care.